Good morning, everybody. Welcome to week 4. It's hard to believe that we have been going this long, and welcome back from the holiday there. I hope y'all were able to celebrate any way that you saw fit, or didn't celebrate any way you saw fit, whichever it is. Always remember the choice is yours. And so we are rolling along, and I want to give a big thanks to everyone that has reached out, provided feedback, asked any questions as we have gone along. And I want to tell you, it benefits a class when people do reach out and they do ask questions. And one of them actually has benefited the class in a way that you may not have realized. I sent an email about it, and that had to do with quizzes. And somebody had a little bit of frustration with one of the quizzes. They had done it a couple of times, and they didn't seem to be progressing anyway in the terms of score. Okay, now we go by scores in the class. That's how we kind of judge how well you're absorbing the material. Okay. But that I don't want you to equate scoring with intellect. Okay. That never means intellect. That never means how smart you are. Okay. And sometimes we think of those as the same. Okay. Uh, but it's a way of measuring how well you absorb the materials. Okay. Not anything to do with how well you think, even though those kind of sound very similar. Because I want you to always go for the positive and how well you're doing, how well you're progressing, and how you put the material to use. All right. That's why I don't say memorize the thing or the information for a test or a quiz, etc. Because you're going to incorporate these things, especially in this career for life. All right. So I went back and looked at this particular student's scores, and then I compared them to everybody's scores. Now, the nice thing about the way the ebooks work and everything is I could take a look at all the questions, even though they're random and all that, and I could see what the most missed questions were and the reasons behind them. Okay. And so I did this and I took a look. I said, you know what? Every single person missed this question across the board, and they missed this one, and they missed this one. So why are they missing them? Okay. So I'm capable of learning the same way we all are. And I went back and I looked at this and I looked at the answers. And I did this for weeks 1, 2, and 3. Not just the one in question, but I looked at all of them. So I went back and I looked at these quizzes. And I said, these were the questions everybody seemed to miss. Not 100%, but these were the lowest scoring questions. And then I looked at the reasons. And you know what? I agreed with the class. I could see why these answers were chosen. Okay. Because when a book comes out, it takes a while for books to be created, number one. So information may not be as current as the way our logic is, because our logic always changes. And so I want to think, if I was here and now, which we are, how would my logic work with this question? And so I agreed with the class. I agreed with your answers. So I adjusted the grades for weeks 1, 2, and 3 on the quizzes. So if you did the quizzes on 1, 2, and 3, you may have seen your score bump a little or a lot, or maybe not at all, depending on if you got these questions and how you answered them. So I encourage everybody to go back, take a look at your scores to see if they did get that bump. And know that if you get a question and you don't agree with the answer, reach out to me. Let me know and say, hey, on this quiz, this is why I answered this. Okay. Things are open to debate and as to the logic as to why you thought that. Okay. So I'm open to these things. If you have a reason why you answered something the way you did, tell me why. Let me know and I'll take a look at it. You may have a valid reason with your logic why you chose a particular answer. I'll be more than happy to review it. But if you don't let me know, I can't do that. So this is why I always encourage communication back and forth. So one student speaking out, I reviewed those quizzes for y'all. So this is why I encourage communication. So you have the email. Please read those emails that I sent out, because if you're not watching this and you're not reading the email, you would not know why those grades may have just gone up for you. All right. And if I remove something from the course for any reason, you wouldn't know, and you would do work that you may not need to as well. So please do that. Anybody that did not manage to do those assignments from week 3, let me know what's going on, because part of the things when you miss assignments from a previous week, you have to make those up. Okay. The work doesn't go away. It's still there. Only when you make it up, those assignments do not count for attendance. So you still have to do them, but you have to do them along with the current week, week 4, or you won't have attendance. So please make sure you make those up, and let me know what's going on. Maybe I can help you figure out how to get these assignments in on time, because time management's going to be critical in this career. Okay. People can't wait. Think about what you're going into. We're talking about healthcare situations. People can't wait. Care can't wait. So how do you learn to manage time? How do you prioritize things? How do you move that stuff around? And part of that was covered in last week's class. How do you limit things, interruptions? How do you say no? Those type of things. Okay, so start thinking about that. So we are ready to move on into this week, week 4. Let's get it on the table here, and let's take a look at this and see what's going on. If you have any questions during the lecture, drop them in the chat box. Unmute your mic. You're welcome to join in at any point. And here we go. We're going to start off with the screen share. And boom, here it goes. Go to the home screen. And I see this popping up. I'm going to increase my screen size here so we can actually see it. There we go. And I'm going to view it the way you view it so we see what you see. All right. Again, I avoid the to-do list. I go over here in the modules is where I work with. Check your grades. I put comments in where I feel like they're fit. And if you have comments, they will appear next to the grades over here. You'll see them attached out there. Do not try to launch your assignments from the gradebook or from the modules. You can get errors in there, or from the to-do list. Go through the modules, all right? That's where you should go through them. If you want to see a recording from before, click on the past recordings there. You'll see there's the previous weeks in there. Week 4 will pop up after this class, and that's how you get to the previous recordings, okay? We are down here. Weeks prior are there. We are down here in week 4. We are all the way in chapter 7. And so this is where we are going to be looking at. Okay, so the reading, when you click on this here, it does take you through here, and it tells you everything that we're going to cover. And other things that are in here, it does give you a little boost in here. So take a look, see what those things. I encourage you to attend the live sessions, but at least watch them, okay? Deliverables that are in these things, the discussions, the assignment, the quiz, it's not an overabundance of things that you have to do in the week. So plan those out. That time management's very, very critical, okay? Now, where it says recommended activities, these are not things that are in the deliverables, but they're things that help you learn the subject deeper. Okay, that's why I put those in there so that you can learn more about it. Now, I know everyone's got tight schedules and that, but if you want to delve deeper, get a little more knowledge in it, that's what it's there for. All right. Okay. So dropping down here, the discussion this week. Let's take a look at that. Now, remember, discussions are 3 questions. Now, going into this, let me let somebody in here. There we go. Going into this, discussions require 3 responses. Your original response will get you 20%. Your first response on another student gets you another 20%. So you're up to 40% of the total points. That third response, that last response on that second student, that gets you 60%. If you are only replying once in the discussion, you're throwing away 80% of the points. If you only reply 2 times in the discussion, you're throwing away 60%. Okay? Participation is big. Okay? Discussions are not able to be made up. If you do not participate in the discussion, it's like not walking into the classroom. You don't come into the classroom, we can't make up that participation. We can't get everybody to come back 2 days later so you can talk to the students that were there. All right. So if you're not doing the 3 posts, you're going to lose those points. All right. That is the way discussions are working. So if you're throwing away those points, you're throwing them away. You're not going to be able to make those up. All right. 3 posts. Okay. So reading strategies. What have you used in the past and how effective are they? Identify one new strategy from this week and how you will apply it. So we've heard the phrase reading is fundamental. So there's different reading techniques. We all learn different ones. Okay. What works for me does not work for everybody else. I have the strangest reading habits. Okay. It's one of those things. We all have weird ones. I had a college instructor. She would go up to the board and she would write forwards and backwards from the center. Boom, 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 boom. I couldn't keep up with writing notes. I'm a very slow writer. I'm a slow writer, but I'm a fast reader. I put multiple books out in front of me and I read across all the books, sometimes 4 or 5 books across. I read multiple books at a time and I'm able to keep that information straight. Other people can't. Okay. Now, I take books of any kind of technical books, and if I'm going to buy a book that's teaching me how to do something, I open the book from the back and I check the index and I look to see what the topics are in the index. And if it doesn't cover the things I want, I don't buy it. All technical books, all educational books, I always check the index in the back. That's how I choose books. We will all have our own ways of learning the best method for reading. Just reading from front to back on things like that does not work for me. So we're going to talk about different active reading this week. I want you to take a look and figure out which ones might work better for you. Everybody's different. Everyone's going to find some different way to do this. So which ones have you used in the past? You will have some here that you've used. Now, some are going to come from the discussion and some are going to come from the actual chapters. Okay. So those combined will help you figure that out. All right. So think about that. And then when you see another student post, reply to them. See that second step, reply to them. Get the 100 points. Okay. So let's go back here. So you're going to do that. And then you're also going to close these down so I don't have to scroll as far. And then the other one, of course, you're going to have the chapter 4 assignment. Now, when you go into those um, assignments, what happens is the more you have read the chapter, the less time you spend on the assignment. Okay, so let me get out of the student view temporarily, and so that I can show you this because I have to show it to you as myself. So when you are in the chapter here, and it says, want to learn more before you answer the question. If you have not read the chapter, this is where you do start reading, okay? If you have read it, then go to the start questions. But if not, do start reading, okay? Go through here and read the chapter, okay? Go through and keep on reading so that you have the information. Once you are ready, then click go to the questions, say got it, and then what's going to happen is you'll see up here 0 of 23 concepts completed. You answer the question, you tell it how you feel, and then if you get it, you will have the question right. This will fill up very quickly and you will actually finish the assignment much quicker than if you're struggling with it. Okay. Now, because of the way this works, the more you get right and those concepts, you're going to go through this assignment quicker. If you're missing them, what's going to happen is it's going to reword and bring you different ways to try to trigger those thoughts. And if you're not getting it or you need more information, you say read the concept. It'll take you back to that section of the book. So that's how you get through the assignment a little quicker and you gain that knowledge as well. So you can make that go faster just by reading alone. All right. So that's how that works. So um, it's not just random. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter. It's based on how much you grasp. Now, the quiz, when you take that quiz, of course, is going to be based on the information. Now, you can take it multiple times. It should be unlimited and it'll keep the highest score. All right. Now, when Monday comes around next Monday, what I'll do is I will go through and I'm going to review the questions just like I did for weeks 1 through 3. Okay, to make sure that the questions are staying relevant and up to date. And the reason why I can't do it before is because the questions are random. I need to see what the class will get. So I will be reviewing the quiz questions that the class receives on Monday following. Please make sure that you're staying up to date with these assignments. All right. Now, the standard is if things aren't complete, 7 days after the class assignment is due is the longest you can have for an extension. So anything other than the discussion missed in week 3 would be eligible for an extension through Sunday of this week, but week 2 no longer available. Okay, so that's the way extensions go. Now, extensions are not available for the midterm next week. And of course, the last week you run into a situation you would not be able to have extensions for those last week assignments. So always stay current as much as possible. All right. Okay. Now let's get to getting on today's um, exciting, I want to say lesson. I don't like the term lecture. Lecture sounds, dreadful. So we're going to talk about today's lesson. See if that sounds a little bit better. So let me go ahead and get this started. Swap my displays here. We're going to talk about actively reading. That makes it sound like we're gonna do sports or something, while we're doing it. So let me draw my little smiley face here. Oops, where's my smile? And away we're gonna go. All right. The first one always makes me think it says LOL. So we're going to talk about active reading, reading systems, strategies, reviewing, vocabulary, success, technical manuals, and barriers. It's a lot, but it's not going to take as long because they kind of overlap each other. So there's a difference between comprehension and interpretation. And sometimes people are like, well, that's the way you interpret it. Comprehension and interpretation are different things, okay? So comprehension is literal baseline of reading, okay? So that is the way you capture it, the way it's on the page without you adding your own spin to it or translation. It is literal, okay? And with that, you identify the primary themes and structural statements. You follow the arguments and logical prescriptions. So it's literally just the way it is. Very specific facts, statistics, and reference. Okay. Now, interpretation is different than that. This is where you put in your thinking process. You analyze it and you make your own associations. Okay. So this is where you put your spin on it. Okay. So you find hidden assumptions and bias. That means you're kind of tweaking it the way you like it. And you draw logical conclusions. Okay. And this part here, connecting content. So you say, oh, that relates to this and that. So comprehension is literal, interpretation's what you make of that information you just read. So literal comprehension is factual. Okay. And where you would use this in real life, before you diagnose, you must decode. It's literal, okay? Like in anatomy, identifying the exact parts, okay? And memorizing everything. Boom, 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 boom. And this is an example here. What the patient has. Boom, boom, boom. Okay? That's literal comprehension right there. Okay? Now, interpretation. Okay? This is where that judgment comes in. And it takes, okay, they have these symptoms and this and that. And so with these symptoms, I would think that they might have this. And with their medication history, I could do this and this. So you're interpreting. It's not exact. What happens if we click review these concept resources? Do we get credit? Okay, so yes, if you go back to clicking the resources, you go back, you review them, and then you come back to the questions, and then you do the questions, and you still get the credit. Yes, Marianne, you do. So you never lose points for going back and getting the extra assistance and moving on. Sorry, I didn't see that at first. So yes, go back, get the assistance, and continue. Exactly. Okay. So that interpretation is, you got it, absolutely. The whole concept I want in this class is learn and grow. Learn and grow. If you're doing the work, I want you to get the credit and the knowledge. That's the whole purpose. Let's grow and learn because this is stuff you need. All right. Okay, so this interpretation, that's the difference. The literal was the body parts, kind of. The interpretation is how you connect the diagnosis and everything. So that's how reading the, you know, that that literal versus the interpretation. Okay, so now that the SQ3R system, this is a whole system, and this is really weird. Okay, and it sounds complicated, but it's not. So SQ3R, I always want to call it square, is what it reminds me of, this part here. Survey, question, read, recite, and review is what it stands for. So survey, you're going to kind of like look at everything. So you got your titles, your charts, your header. So you're kind of looking at everything you have. So then question comes along. So you're going to read those headers, like those titles of everything, and you're going to turn those into questions. So you're going to put these into question format for yourself. Okay. And now you're ready to start reading what those are, thinking about that header question. So you answer that. Then comes recite. This is where you take down those notes. Okay. This is where you put it in your own words, verbally or notes. Okay. Now, if you've got anything that where you can do texting or writing, if you have Word, you can do this. Uh, you can turn that mic on and you can just tell it what you want it to write. Go back and clean those notes up, but you can actually recite. That's what that means, talk. Some people don't know what the word recite means. That's talk. Whoops, my K didn't come out there. And then review. Go back and review it. Clean those notes up. Because if you don't, you may not know what your own notes mean. All right. Okay. So let's take a look at that. That first part, mapping the landscape, is what we call that. A survey, just like a survey check. So you're going to spend a couple of minutes looking at everything. What is going to be coming to me? And so what is actually out here? So before you do anything, prepare yourself. Kind of look through that chapter, see what's going to be coming out there. Okay. And then question things. Okay. So like in here, this was the header right there. Da 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 da. Mechanism of loop diuretics. Okay. So they turned it in. How do loop diuretics bop, 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 bop? Okay. That's what they do. When you see a heading, turn it into a question. And then reading underneath it, look for ways that it answers it. So turn it into a question. Now you know why you're reading it. Okay, so then when it comes to phase two, that read and recite, those two items there. Look here, read with active intent, not just highlight it, but why am I reading? I want to answer that question on the heading. Okay, why am I reading this? I need to answer what it said in the heading. Okay, and then comes recite. Think about it. Say it out loud, what you just wrote, what you just read. Okay? So that's how you start to learn. Okay, figure out what's going to come up ahead, take those headings, turn it into a question, now read to answer those questions. Kind of start to make a little sense. It kind of like lays a roadmap for you. It may seem like it's a lot of work, but you'll be doing that so quickly, it really doesn't take a lot of time. And you're probably already doing some of these steps here already. You just didn't know that it had a pattern. Now, this is a key part, this systemic review, or just review, okay? Flashcards, question banks, peer testing and reviewing, okay? Don't just keep rereading, okay? Don't just reread it over and over. Find a way to make it a little more than that. Okay, those little flip cards, things like that. There are a lot of utilities you can get on your phone, on your computer. You can do paper cards, things like that. Write your notes and things on that and make it interactive. Doing that is so much better than just rereading. You reread, it'll cure you from not being able to sleep. But the more you reread, you're not gaining a lot of the retention. We have found this out over the years. Many, 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 many years ago, they would just have you keep rereading and rereading and rereading. And all it did was make us hate learning. Fall in love with learning because you want that subject. You're here because you want to make a change. You're here because you love the subject you're in. Okay. You love the medical field in some way, shape, or form. You chose it. Fall in love with the learning of it. So figure out a way that makes that learning more tolerable because you have to go from A to B to C to get to that end. You can hear I'm passionate about this because I want you to be passionate about that career. Think about where you're going to be and what you're going to be able to do and be excited for that all the way through. Even when it gets rough, just keep looking. There's my goal and I'm going to get there. Okay, so let's look at this again. All right, so the step, survey and question. That's where you review everything and you kind of take a look at it. And what that would be like is reviewing the patient's chart and vital signs before going into the review exam room. Read and recite. That would be like performing the exams, validating symptoms, blah, 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 blah. The review, conducting the follow-up exams, evaluate recovery, etc. So that's what would happen. You can see the real life, boom. So you're seeing it in the classroom to work for your assignment. This is how it relates once you get out of the classroom. This stuff is real life always. So what you're learning here carries on. Now, your discussion has to do with critical reading strategies. Okay, so here are some of them. Determine your purpose for setting that focus. So think about what you're going to do. Now you can ask active questions, but I highlighted the ones that I think are most workable based on answers I'm seeing already in the questions and that. Concentrate deeply. I can tell you to concentrate, but that doesn't always help. But you can block those digital distractions. Turn that phone off or create a high focus zone. Go do something. How I do it, you're going to think this is weird. I have to listen to loud heavy metal. That's how I concentrate. I need hardcore heavy metal to concentrate. The louder, the most obnoxious heavy metal, that's what I put on. I put my headphones on, crank it up, and I can just do what I need to do. Structured outlines help people if that's what works. But what I do is I highlight things. Everything that I need to know, I have different color highlighters, and I do it online too. You can highlight stuff online, and I use the different colors. Okay, data that I know works from here to here, I put little comments on them. This is related to this. I relate data to data, information to information. That's how I piece my knowledge together. That way, if I know this is like this or this is like that, that helps me think. Maybe it'll work for you. Compare peer notes. Talking to other people in your career helps. We also call it teach the teacher. Let me teach you what I know, you teach me what you know. When I'm sharing my information with you, it makes me know my stuff better and vice versa. Okay, set a timer. Allow yourself 10 or 15 minutes to study. Take a break for 10 minutes. 10 or 15 minutes to study, etc. Whatever it takes, but take breaks. Set a timer. Don't let yourself go forever because that fatigue is going to hurt you more than taking a break. All right? Use different styles, drawings, audio, draw on paper, etc. You're going to get bored otherwise. Find different ways to do it. All right. This one here, I can't tell you this one. Look at the appendix, glossaries, indexes, tables, chapter introduction. People just want to look for the bold word. No, all that other stuff's important too. Look around at the different things. You may find whole different sections that work better for you than just the bold. Okay, look at everything in that book. Find the parts that work for you. Okay, I just mentioned text to speech. Open up Microsoft Word. You can get it. Uh, turn on that microphone and just talk to it. Let it type everything out on your notes, electronic flashcards, online notes, things like that. Utilize all your tools. Okay. Now, reading once never enough, right? Okay. Write your notes in your own style. You know you, okay? Read your notes out loud. It may seem weird to you, but read them back to yourself, okay? Or put play on any of the notes that you write, let it read it back to you, okay? And go, how does this relate now to the class and how will this relate to my career, okay? And then periodically go back and review those notes because those little reviews will help you out instead of waiting until the very end and trying to cram everything all at one time. So now, how do we grow vocabulary? Because you're going to be learning a lot of it. New words, write them down. Look them up if you don't know them. Or put them in Google. Ask them, what does this mean? Okay. And listen to people who are professional speakers. Put them on podcasts, not just the fun one, but in your career. Look for professionals in your career and listen to them. And this is going to help them when you go into those medical term classes. You're going to need to study those prefixes, patterns, root structures, and suffixes because they're all going to mean things. So when you're starting to learn things, once you learn the prefixes, suffixes, and that, you're going to figure out, hey, this all means respiratory. This all means this. This all means this. And you're going to find those classes much easier because words follow rules as well. Learn the rules and things go better. Okay? Foreign languages. You're going to deal with them. Everybody does. You will. Don't get frustrated. Biggest thing, don't get frustrated. Watch people. Watch your volume. Louder does not mean comprehension. Context does. Pay attention to what people are trying to say and find a way to work with them. Okay? Work with literature. There's all kinds of different programs out there that will try to help you online. There's lots of different translation programs. So while you're doing that, try to increase vocabulary. Okay? I'm not telling anyone to give up their language, their culture in any way, shape, or form. I'm telling us all we can grow. Okay, there's programs like Rosetta and others that will help you learn how to do different types of conversational languages. It's another way to grow yourself. So look at different ways of doing that, and that's another skill that can be added to a resume. Okay, and one of the best things that they mention under here that it goes for everything, read your textbook. We don't like to do that, but it's a great thing to check out. Okay. Now, manuals, anything technical, they're no fun. They really aren't. Okay. So there's different things that you can do. Okay. Things that have to do with inventory. That's where you can find parts, things like that, components. These are critical when you're looking for things you need to reorder in the field. Okay. Sequential guides, that's for installation or assembly or, trying to do complex steps that you need to do for care. Indexes where I have a situation, how do I do this? Go to the back of the book, look up on the index, okay? Frequently asked questions, you can find those under digital support, things like that. And any vital data that you need to log, make sure you're putting that in there for future reference. Okay. So, how do we overcome obstacles to help you out all the way around? So, we need to make sure you have a place. Okay. So, designate a physical space. Okay. Make sure that you are using your dynamic reading tactics, keep your outlines, highlights, things like that. And what will that do? Is there a reward? Yes. Just like any habit, there's a trigger, a routine, and a reward. Better reading experience. But look right here. This is key. Build confidence. We all tend to lack a little confidence in ourselves. That is something. And you'll have more time to socialize. When you're not struggling, it does increase those things. So we have interference in these things. One of those, family and children. So there are places and things for everything. Read in short segments, okay? So take a look at what you need to do and divide it up. Read during sleep blocks. So children tend to nap or they have earlier sleep times or morning hours. Try to go during that. I know most of us try these things. Carry reading everywhere. Appointments, practice fields, or during commutes, things like this. Your book allows you the ability to read on your phone, etc. So if you haven't downloaded that app, I've done it to make sure that it works. It does work, at least for the reading part. Okay, so you can read everywhere. Take a look at that. Or try reading the book to your children. Let them be kind of part of your learning experience. Give them something to do that's similar to it beside you. Keep them, they want to feel part of your experience. Let them be part of it. Trying to keep them completely isolated from it, it's not going to work very well. Okay. And so, and there's some websites that might be able to help that are listed there as well. So if you want to see those, you can go back to the recording to check that. And so remember, a healthy, engaged mindset's your primary weapon against reading fatigue. Okay? That positive outlook and take those breaks. Okay? If you have any questions, please, 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 please let me know. I am here for you, but some of the times I don't know exactly what you need, okay? Or when you need it. So please reach out to me. Uh, Drop me a line, send me a text, either one of those, and I will do anything I can to help, assist, answer questions. So please let me know. All right? And that is it. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, that is your lecture for week 4. Keep doing what you're doing. Uh, you all are doing great. You've adapted well to this course, and I want nothing but the best for you. So keep on keeping on. All right? And I will see you next week, same time. Brian's typing. Type, 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 type. You're welcome, Brian. And let me know if you need anything. Y'all have a great day, and we will see you next week.